Hello, I'm Lisa, and welcome to another episode of StartMeUp Business Walkthrough, where each week I take you walking through my startup business. This is week number 4, and this week we're going to be talking about Cashflow Forecast. Now, you'll recall the last two times we talked about the financials, and we talked about, first of all, the budget, household budget, and how you can organise your costs over the year to find out whether your income actually meets your basic living expenses. And then last week we spoke about the net worth position, the cash net worth position, where we worked out if we were actually had our cash being greater than the debts that we owe. And the magic, of course, and that is my favourite part, the fact that the important point for the cash flow forecast also was that the debt that you owe to creditors, it doesn't matter whether you have different types of lending with the one creditor, the only thing that matters is what you owe each individual creditor. So we talked about that. Now, so this time, the cash flow forecast, which I'll show you, I'll turn this around now so you can see it. You won't see my face, but that's okay as long as you can see the screen. I'm doing this at night too, so hopefully it's bright enough for you to see. So, the cash flow forecast, here it is here. Now, what I've done is, you would normally do a cash flow forecast over the whole year, just really for space. You can see I've started it in the month of April and gone through to August. But it doesn't matter, how long you do it for. If you can do it for a year, the principles across the same are the same all the way through to the end. So just for time's saver, I've done it like this. So now the point with the cash flow, so once you've put together your budget, your net worth position, and now find your cash flow, that kind of really completes the picture in terms of getting an overall of your financial position. And what I love about the cash flow forecast, that this is the way that the tool that you can use to actually control the movement of cash in and out of your bank. And if you actually put everything down in cash and you allocate you've got a category for all expenses, then you should never ever have to borrow money as long as you can make some certainty as to the future spending needs, of course. But this is a great tool. And now what I find with using a cash flow forecast, it can be tricky to get into the habit of using it. I still struggle with really, limiting myself to, say, only using $200 a month or whatever it is in food, and then savings. Maybe I probably don't do a very good job of sticking to my savings. It's really going to be about discipline and committing yourself to doing it. So again, if you want the templates, let me know, and I'll give those to you. Now, so we'll start off. First of all, you'll see down here we've got income, and we're either drawings or wages. If you've got your business, your income might come from there, or it'll come from wages. So you just have a category there. Anything cash that's coming into your bank, put it here. If you've got an income coming in from investments, put it in there as well if it's cash. So anything, this is cash. Remember, everything to do with cash. Now, your expenses, you'll see here, and I've got listed here: rent, food, power, fuel, savings, and other. Now, you'll see this, I've got a back arrow here. Oh, you can't quite see that, sorry, but it's just an arrow pointing backwards. And what does that mean? It means that these items have come through from our budget. So literally we've picked up these items, and whatever our budget was, we've worked that out over the year, and then we literally put in our expenses. We fill it in. So like with our budget, we went down the page, but this time with the cash flow forecast, we go across the page. So what you do first, you can either put, if you're getting the same amount of income, and that's why I love the idea of having regular costs. Fix your costs and have even your income. If you can, whatever income you're using to pay off your basic living expenses, if that is relatively the same each month, it makes this a whole lot easier. So what we're going to do is, here we're saying that we get $500 a month for April, May $250, June we got $500, $700 for July and August. Now, when you prepare this too, keep in mind that, you'll do this on a month by month basis, but you'll start it off by filling in, if you've got regular cash coming in, fill that in for the whole year. Now, down in our expenses, the same thing. You'll probably know how much rent or mortgage you're paying each month. So again, fill it all in across the whole page. And then any other fixed costs you have, power, fill that in across the whole page if you've got that cost fixed. Now, with fuel, of course, and food and savings, you're not, unless you want to stick rigidly to them, you can. If you're really disciplined with your cash flow forecast, you can say, right, I'm not going to spend more than $200 a month, or whatever it is you want. Again, same with fuel. You could only go to certain places, drive to certain points and only spend a certain amount of fuel. If you wanted to, you could say, right, I'm never going to exceed $50 a month in fuel, or whatever. So fix as much of your costs as you can. And when you create the spreadsheet, fill in the costs that are fixed, that are going to be the same each month, and then go back and fill in the rest. Now, the other point, this will become clearer again shortly. Up the top here, I've got a starting bank balance at the end of the month. So this is like at the 31st of March. Look at your bank balance. Again, that ties in with your net worth position. What was the balances of your accounts at the end of the month? So you're starting off, so the 1st of April, you'll have $1,000 in your bank, for example. I'm getting income of $500. And then off that income is my expenses for the month. And then that leaves me with a bank balance of, if you can see that, $820. So by the end of April, if I've stuck to my budget, I've got $820 cash left at the end of the month. And why you do this on a spreadsheet, I like doing this on a spreadsheet, because now up the top, you can see for the month of May, I've got a starting figure up here of $820, which obviously moved from the end of the month to the beginning. And then my income is coming in. I only had $250 that month. Take off my expenses. I've got $480 left over at the end of May. Come up to the top. Start off with $480. Add my income, subtract my expenses, and I've got $380 left. Now, you keep doing this all the way through the year, and by the time you get to the end of the year, you can see there I've actually got cash in my bank. Assume this is the end of March, because the period I've gone is from April to March. I've got $650 left at the end of the year. That's why you do it for a year, because you can go back to the start and see at the beginning of the financial year, or whatever period you want to do it for, I had $1,000. By the time I got to the end of the year, I've only got $650 left. So what does that tell me? That tells me then that my cash over the year has gone down. See, you'll notice that some of the months it's gone down and up, but over the year it's actually my cash has decreased. And that's where you want to look at and say, okay, rather, that there's always a lot of people will talk about, okay, if you don't have enough income, cut your expenses. But once you cut your expenses, you're going to have to start messing about with all of these lines on your cash flow forecast. So what you want to do, and that's the thing with income, if you work on learning to increase your income to make up, so that you can have a bigger cash balance, you only have to mess around with one line in your cash flow budget. So look at increasing your income rather than reducing your expenses, because having that framework around what you spend is going to help you with your discipline, and making sure that you don't overspend and end up getting into debt. So, and this is the same strategy too that we'll use when we create our business budget later on. So, and now the other question that you may come to mind is, okay, Lisa, so how does it work if I want to go and buy something, say my washing machine breaks down, for instance, and how am I going to do that? Well, again, you'll have a category for it, because you can foresee that you're going to need a new washing machine over the during the year. So what you do is, I like using a spreadsheet, because you can see it on the same page. You can put your costs in, have this calculate itself, and you can know the impact of what happens when you buy the washing machine. You can say, okay, so I'm going to have to pay $500 for a washing machine. What's that going to do to my cash flow in that month that I buy it? And what's it going to do to my cash position at the end of the year? So if you see how that works. Now, the other good point to make about cash flow forecasts is that's all very well, but you're going to say, hey, Lisa, some months I'm not going to exactly spend $200 and, $50 on fuel, even if I've got this cash flow. So what do? I'm going to have to be rubbing out my figures. But what you do, now this is where I am going to rub out my figures. Excuse me, I'll just go and find a rubber. Okay. So what we're going to do here, actually I'm not going to rub them all out, but you'll get the idea. Watch what I'm doing here is I am rubbing out that, and I'm rubbing out that. So what I've got here now is, watch what I do here. So I've got April. Now I'm putting April, so I've got 2 Aprils, and April, sorry, May, rub that out. So I've got 2, I should have done that way, sorry. So I've got 2 April, and I've got 2 columns for May. So and you would do this all the way through again for your 12 months. You've got 2 columns for each month. Okay, so what you can then do is you can use 1 column for actual, so your actual figures that you spend, and you can have 1 column for an estimate. So actually, if you probably do this the other way around, I think this is how I've got it on the spreadsheet. So put your ideal, you can call it your ideal column. So ideally, what should you be spending each month in this column? And then this is what you do at the beginning of the month, or just at the end of the last month. Right, you've got those figures there. Now at the end of the month, you're going to go and write in how much you actually earned and how much you actually spent. Okay, so you get the idea. So and then you can have 2 columns at the end of it to see what your ideal cash flow was compared with your actual. So if that makes sense. So maybe in April, say, hey, I actually got $1,000 worth of income. I still would have spent $300, because that's auto-filled again across the whole year. My food might have been, because I had extra income, I might have thought, hey, I spent $400 in food actual this week. And again, you've got your bank balances. So this will be, because this is our ideal, and then this will be whatever it is. And then you bring the total up to the top of the column again, and you're going to have a figure at the end of the year. So you see how that works. You can do it the 2-column way. Will give you the opportunity to start off with your ideal month, what you're ideally going to spend, and what you actually spend. Now, this was taught to me by a budget advisor some years ago, and it's a really good concept because it helps you, again, to look at, and you can see on the page, gosh, why did I spend $400 that month in food? What did I actually buy? Or did I just, buy a whole lot of crappy food or whatever, and that's how you can look at it. You can then make decisions about and look at the about what you're spending and why are you veering. So maybe for your fuel you spend $150, and maybe for other you had spent $200, and you can look and say, well, hey, I actually spent $200 in the other column. What was that for, and why did I overspend by $190? You can make those type of decisions, and doing it that way. And that will give you also really good control of your spending, as long as you can be disciplined enough, of course, to use it. And the other piece, to end finally with that then, is one other thing I will show you, because once you have those, I'll just turn me back around. So once you have the three pieces of magic, which is the budget, the net worth position, and the cash flow forecast, and then you really understand, you have a really good grasp of what it means to be financially literate. And you may have heard me speak before about the two different classes of people. So I'll just rub this off, if I can get enough space here, otherwise I've got to wipe out the whole board. Okay, you can see that. So you've heard me speak before about the horizontal line. Ta-da. And the educated people at the top, educated people up at the top, and the people at the bottom, maybe like me, are uneducated. Now and a lot of you hear people talk about different classes of society, or they categorize people into the poor people, mid and rich. So the three classes of people: the poor and the middle class, and the wealthy. Gosh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I think I'm falling asleep. Okay, so the three classes of people: the poor and the middle class and the wealthy. But this way I categorize people into the uneducated or educated. Now that's, once you get a grasp of your financials, then you can start moving from, rather than saying, those three classes. People who, in my opinion, are uneducated are the people who don't understand wealth, and they probably don't understand the law. Get up into the educated, the corporations, the investors, the people who understand money. So once you have the basic concepts of the money with the budget, the net worth position, and the cash flow forecast, you can then begin to move from here up into here. And once you start getting educated, you can then start building your wealth. So that's it for the session this week. Hope you understood that okay. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and have a ponder of that. Think budget, net worth, and cash flow, and they will give you the principles of building your wealth. We're going to apply those in our business. And so that's it. Look forward to seeing you again next week. It will be over this weekend, so there's not as many days. And we will be talking about getting our home office ready. So we've finished the financials part of it for our personal stuff. We're going to look at doing the getting our home office ready to start our business. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about the minimalist lifestyle, which you can apply to your home office, which I've started applying, and it works great. So that's it. Have a good night, everybody, and see you again next time. Bye for now.